You know that in space you can move in three ways: to left or right, backwards or forwards, up or down. Every direction is either one of these three or a compromise between them. They are called the three dimensions. Now notice this. If you are using only one dimension, you could draw only a straight line. If you are using two, you could draw a figure, say a square. And a square is made up of four straight lines. Now a step further. If you have three dimensions, you can then build what we call a solid body, say a cube, a thing like a dice or a lump of sugar. And a cube is made up of 6 squares. Do you see the point? A world of one dimension would be a straight line. In a two-dimensional world, you still get straight lines, but many lines make one figure. In a three-dimensional world, you still get figures, but many figures make one solid body. In other words, as you advance to more real and more complicated levels, you do not leave behind you the things you found on the simpler levels. You still have them, but combined in new ways, in ways you could not imagine if you knew only the simpler levels. Now, the Christian account of God involves just the same principle. The human level is a simple and rather empty level. On the human level, one person is one being, and any two persons are two separate beings. Just as in two dimensions, say on a flat sheet of paper, one square is one figure, and any two squares are two separate figures. On the divine level, you still find personalities, but up there you find them combined in new ways which we, who do not live on that level, cannot imagine. In God's dimension, so to speak, you find a being who is 3 persons while remaining one being, just as a cube is 6 squares while remaining one cube. Of course, we cannot fully conceive a being like that, just as, if we were so made that we perceived only 2 dimensions in space, we could never properly imagine a cube. But we can get a sort of faint notion of it. And when we do, we are then, for the first time in our lives, getting some positive idea, however faint, of something super-personal, something more than a person. It is something we could never have guessed, and yet, once we have been told, one almost feels one ought to have been able to guess it, because it fits in so well with all the things we know already.
So, there you have it. That's one quick and easy example that is coherent and as far as is possible from within creation, to silence that skeptic objection that the concept of the Trinity is just completely illogical and a contradiction. Now, will you convince the individual skeptic? That's a different story. I mean, as for our Muslim friends in Islam, when Allah says in the Quran, Surah Al-Nisa, chapter 4, verse 171, وَلَا تَقُولُوا ثَلَاثَةٌ, meaning, don't even say Trinity. You don't have to be a brain surgeon to realize that you obviously have a lot more work ahead of you than just showing this mentioned logical argument. Did you know, by the way, that the belief and understanding of plurality in the Godhead, of the one God Yahweh, was well accepted within Judaism, all the way up until 200 AD. It was then radically and strongly marked by Jewish religious leaders as a heresy. I wonder what triggered that. Some groups of Unitarians ran with that decision up until this day, but core Orthodox Christians kept hanging on to this ancient Jewish understanding of plurality in the Godhead, of the one God Yahweh. I highly recommend watching this video for more. It's linked in the description box below.
Take care now. Bye-bye then.